إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به
Oh Allah subhanahu
واعف
wa ta'ala,
عنا
open this gathering
إصرا
with your blessings and end it with your blessing. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, open this gathering with your blessings as well as end it with your blessing. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, open this gathering with your blessing and also end it with your blessing. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين آمين آمين آمين.
Thank you, Trustee Alidini. We continue to be grateful to the Almighty. You know, we are holding a lot of your funds in excess of $1 billion. You know, it's not an easy job when you are doing it on behalf of somebody else. We continue to be grateful to God, and that is why we always start with God. Now, into the introductions, I would like to recognize and acknowledge everybody who has stand up. We expect by around midday, when everybody has settled in, we will be in excess of 100 people. I know there are various companies that are represented here from all the participating employers who participate in this fund. Probably just by a show of hands, I would love to see the various teams that are presented here. Who do I start with? Do I start with the founders, Takaful Insurance themselves, or I finish with them? I start with the, if you're Takaful, please, if you participate from Takaful Insurance by a show of hands, or you can stand up so that we recognize you and acknowledge you. Anybody from Takaful Insurance? Okay, I can see some of them there, some of them here. Okay, I know a lot of them will be coming in a bit later. As an underwriter, they operate on Saturdays, so I start with them. Any one of you to say hello? Takaful, please, if you participate from Takaful Insurance by a show of hands, or you can stand up so that we recognize you and acknowledge you. Mawiye? Anybody from Takaful Insurance? The team. Okay, I can see some of them there, some of them here. Okay, I know a lot of them will be coming in a bit later. As an underwriter, they operate on Saturdays, so I start with them. Any one of you to say hello? Takaful, please, they are always looking for business. Participate from Takaful Insurance by a show of hands, or you can stand up so that we recognize you and acknowledge you. Mawiye? Anybody from Takaful Insurance? Okay, I can see some of them there, some of them here. Okay, I know a lot of them will be coming in a bit later. As an underwriter, they operate on Saturdays, so I start with them. Any one of you to say hello? Takaful, please, they are always looking for business. Participate from Takaful Insurance by a show of hands, or you can stand up so that we recognize you and acknowledge you. Mawiye? Anybody from Takaful Insurance? Okay, I can see some of them there, some of them here. Mawiye? Okay, one of our biggest partners. I know a lot of them will be coming in a bit later. As an underwriter, they operate on Saturdays, so I start with them. Any one of you to say hello? Takaful, please, they are looking for business. Participate from Takaful Insurance by a show of hands, or you can stand up so that we recognize you and acknowledge you. Mawiye? Anybody from Takaful Insurance? Okay, anybody from some of them there, some of them here. Oh, the team is one of our biggest partners. I know a lot of them will be coming in a bit later. As an underwriter, they operate on Saturdays, so I start with them. Any one of you to say hello? Takaful, please, they are looking for business. Participate from Takaful Insurance by a show of hands, or you can stand up so that we recognize you and acknowledge you. Anybody from Takaful Insurance all over the country. Anybody from some of them there, some of them here. Oh, remember, we only have one of our biggest. I know a lot of them will be coming in a bit later. As an underwriter, they operate on Saturdays, so Soliton, tell me with them. Any one of you to say hello? Takaful, please, they are really join us. Participate from Takaful Insurance by a show of hands, or you can stand up. Soliton, any one of you recognize you and acknowledge you. Anybody from Takaful Insurance all over the country. Anybody from some of them there, some of them here. Oh, remember, we only have one of our biggest. I know a lot of them will be coming in a bit later. As an underwriter, they operate on Saturdays. So,
My
Soliton, tell me, any one of you Takaful, can join us in participating in the Takaful insurance by show of hands. Uma University, Soliton, tell me, and we don't want anybody from Takaful all over the country. Anybody from hospital, some of them. Remember, we only have to have online, some of them becoming lead logistics and underwriters, they operate on Saturdays. So, Soliton, tell me, any one of you Takaful, can join us in participating in the Takaful insurance by show of hands. Uma University, Soliton, tell me, and we don't want anybody from Takaful all over the country. Anybody from hospital, some of them. Remember, we only have to have online, some of them becoming lead logistics and underwriters, they operate on Saturdays. So, Soliton, tell me, any one of you Takaful, can join us in participating in the Takaful insurance by show of hands. Uma University, Soliton, tell me, and we don't want anybody from an AGM, anybody very serious business. Remember, we only have to have online, some of them becoming lead logistics and underwriters, they operate on Saturdays. Members are the bosses, and us, we are the service providers. So it is your forum, it is your meeting. So as we go along, we expect to have a lot of engagement. Interpel from Mombasa. Interpel was one of the early adopters into this fund also. Can they say hello to us? Interpel are from Mombasa, a big cargo freight company from that end.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Rashid Bakuli from Interpel Mombasa. My team is here.
Okay.
I introduce them or you know them?
They can stand up. No,
Okay,
in the
I have,
interest of time.
Madam Amira, one of the directors.
Yes.
Swabir, our finance director.
Pleasure to have yourselves from Mombasa. And one of the key things for us is Mombasa is a rich catchment area for us, and you will see a lot of activity for us coming to that end. So Interpel and logistics are represented there? Okay, asanteni. East African Gas Oil? Any representative? AA Ali? AA Ali? IRC, Interreligious Council? Darul Ilm Academy? Okay. MEWA, Muslim Education and Welfare Association. Okay. Frontier Optical. Frontier Optical, a fiber optic company. Okay. You can say hello to us. You know, without you guys, we are not powered. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Yvonne Wanjiro from Frontier Optical. We're pleased to be here and we look forward to a good engagement. Thank you.
Asanteni sana. Welcome. Focus Container Freight. Okay. I think I've captured most. Is there anybody that I've forgotten? Any team that I've forgotten? Ladnan Hospital? Okay. I've forgotten the team on that table. Huh? Oh boy. Siama is going to eat me alive. Angani. Also in the ICT space. Okay. Say hello to us. And Angani had insisted to do the meeting virtually. I don't know why, because they are an ICT company, but I'm glad you came.
Hi everyone. My name is Angani. My name is Irene Karaoke, and we're here to represent Angani Limited. And thank you for the invite.
Asanteni sana. You're most welcome. Is there any other group that I've forgotten? Top of my mind? Okay, none. Let me come to the service providers so that we understand whom we have. Now, any pension scheme has 3 or 4, 5 service providers on its panel. The first one, most known to you, is Minet Kenya Financial Services, who happen to be the administrators of the fund. May Minet be upstanding, introduce yourselves, because you are the touch point people that we are always coordinating with. Minet Kenya Financial Services, probably all the HRs have dealt with them.
Morning, members. We are delighted to be here. My name is Mary Gitao. I serve from the administrator.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dennis Macau. Minet as the administrator.
Good morning, everyone. Rodney Obuya, administrator.
Okay, so members, those 3 are really key important. They're really key people. So even as the meeting goes on, or even after, you can engage them for any issue on your pension statement, on your finances, or for any retirement planning. The next key partner is the investment manager. who is with us today, African Alliance.
Morning, members. Maina Washeni from African Alliance. It's a pleasure to be here this morning.
Morning, members. Moses Muraguri, part of the African Alliance team, your fund managers. Thank you.
Okay, so they're the people who invest, able to generate a return, of course, under the advisory of the board. When their time comes, they will speak. Minette will also speak. Another key important player is the custodian, and they will tell us, "Hii pesa iko ama ni hewa." So the representative from Corp Custody Bank.
Good morning, members. Good morning again. My name is Gaston Mukuno, and I'm a representative from the Cooperative Bank of Kenya, and as alluded to by Victor, ours is to safeguard the monies that have been saved by the scheme. Thank you.
Asante, you're most welcome, Gaston. The next one is the auditor to the fund. For the financial year 2024, we used PKF Kenya. The representative may be upstanding and say hello to us.
Good morning, members. My name is Rachel Nzioka from PKF Kenya, your independent auditor.
I don't know why they insist on independent. They give us a very hard time. Now, members, I'll come up front to what we call the Board of Trustees. They're the ones who've invited you to this meeting for today. The Board of Trustees is a board of 9. They sit in to oversight over the welfare of your funds. And I'll have them, where is the microphone, introduce themselves because they're the ones who oversight over your funds. We can start with Trustee Hassan. Ladies have refused. They've been given the first opportunity. They've said no.
Good morning and assalamu alaikum to everybody. My name is Hassan. I represent your interest in the fund.
Trustee Hassan happens to be a member representative. So when elections are done, we also have trustees coming on board. So he sits in as a member representative.
Good morning, everyone, and assalamu alaikum. I'm Naima Sheikh, trustee of Takaful Umbrella Fund.
Okay. Just to add some meat to that, Trustee Naima happens to be a lawyer, so she sits in, brings in a lot of legal expertise into the fund, and she is a sponsor nominated because there are some interests the sponsor has. Okay.
Assalamu alaikum and good morning. My name is Muhammad Alidin, also a trustee, and my big role for this fund is to ensure that your money is invested in Sharia compliant ventures. Thank you.
Very nice. I'm always asked a question, should I take all my capital plus the profit? He is the right person to answer that question because this was and remains to be the premier Islamic Sharia fund in the country. So his team and his Sharia board help us to guide us in terms of all those investments that are done to be done in the right way. And I think at some point he will also speak about some of the investments that we are doing and how he's guiding for us to be able to generate a halal return. Okay.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good morning. My name is Abdul Wahab Mohammed. I'm the HR manager, Fleet Logistics, and I also sit in the board of trustees. I represent the employer. Thank you.
Okay. Abdul Wahab will be sitting in for our chairman today, who's running a bit late. Some of the other board members, Mr. Mohammed Salat, who happens to be our chair from Has Petroleum, he's on the way coming. At the point when he comes, we will recognize him. Dr. Mohammed Abdi Mohammed, who now happens to be the chairperson. He may not be able to make it for today's meeting, but he also sits on this board. Mr. Ali Sahal Idris, he's also on the way. He's coming. He's an independent trustee, also with some oversight. Okay, coming from a finance background, also as an outsider, he gives in value-added service to this fund. Who else? Dr. Halima Saado from Umma University also sits on this board as a member representative. And then myself from Takaful Insurance. To wrap up in terms of the introduction, I'll also bring to you the founder of this pension fund. And the founder happens to be Takaful Insurance of Africa, represented by Mr. Mohamed Badon, who is with us today. Mr. Badon will say hello to us, and thereafter he will give a speech to invite us to this forum. And okay, let him greet us first. Then let him greet us first.
Bismillah. Good morning. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah. Salatu wa salam ala rasulillah.
They're saying this one is louder.
Can you hear me well now? Bismillah. Salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. Good morning. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear member of the trustee, member of the Takaful umbrella funds, it is indeed my great honor and pleasure to stand before you today. My name is Mohammed Bahdoun. I am the recently appointed new CEO for Takaful Insurance of Africa. I'm really happy and delighted to welcome you to this 12th annual general meeting of our Takaful Pension Fund. As it was reminded, this is a very good occasion, an opportunity to reflect on our progress, reaffirm our commitment, but also renew our vision for this fund. So today we are gathering to review the milestone achieved over the last financial year, assess the challenge that we faced. Let me just give a bit of background about the journey of Takaful Umbrella Funds. It was reminded this fund was established with a purposeful vision, which is to establish a retirement benefit scheme grounded in Sharia principle, accessible to all, and governed by professionalism and integrity. So from that vision, the first of its kind in East Africa and Central Africa, the Takaful umbrella funds came to existence, and it enables employers to focus on their core mandate while empowering employees to build a secure and dignified financial future. So Alhamdulillah, by the grace of Allah, the fund has continued to demonstrate resilience and growth despite a challenging environment. Obviously, the fund's manager will explain the challenge that the fund has faced over the last years and the way we mitigated. But just to mention a few aspects of those, on the financial performance, the fund has recorded a steady growth since its inspection in 2013, reaching today a value of 1.155 billion and a membership of 2,585 as of 31 December 2024. Alhamdulillah, that's a good achievement. On the membership growth, we are also delighted to welcome new members in our growing family, including, just to mention a few of them, Jamia Mosque, Go Venture, Express Kitchen, Salam Microfinance. So these new institutions have joined the fund. They operate in a wide industry from education, healthcare, to telecommunication, auditing, and represented from Kenya and Mombasa and Eldoret. So as you can see, the fund continue to expand its reach within Kenya. So dear members, again, this AGM is a very important platform for you. It's not only a statutory requirement, but it's an opportunity, as I said, to reaffirm that your interests remain at the heart of our operation. That's the reason why I encourage all of you to participate actively in today's deliberation to make this session fruitful and engaging. I also encourage the members to make additional voluntary contribution to enhance your retirement saving. As we look ahead, we remain confident that the coming years will open, inshallah, new doors and enable us to tap into the vast opportunity before us. So together, we will continue to strengthen the Takaful Umbrella Fund as a model of ethical, inclusive, and sustainable financial growth. So I would like to end my introduction note to once again take the opportunity to express my gratitude to the Board of Trustees, the Sharia Supervisory Board, for their engagement, their wisdom and guidance. Also, I would like to express my gratitude to the management of Takaful Insurance of Africa and the service provider for their dedication and professionalism. And last but not least, to all the members who are represented here for their trust and their confidence. Let us continue, inshallah, to uphold the value of trustworthiness, which is amana, and the value of ihsan, which is excellence in whatever we do. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless our collective effort, guide our decision, and grant us success in this gathering. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Another round of applause to Mr. Mohammed Badon. And now that we have the blessings of the founder, our meeting can officially kickstart. Asante sana. Thank you. So I'll invite Madam Mary from Minet Kenya Financial Services to read the notice so that we can kickstart this meeting now officially, now that we have the blessings of the founder. Asante.
Good morning, members. It's a statutory meeting, and I'll read the notice of the meeting as we had issued it. We'll also encourage members to ask those who are left behind that the meeting is available virtually so that they can follow it through. We had issued a link, so encourage those that were left behind to follow the meeting. This is Takaful Umbrella Fund meeting, annual general meeting for financial year ended 31st December 2024. And the notice that was issued reads, notice is hereby given that the annual general meeting of the Takaful Umbrella Fund for financial year ended 31st December 2024 will be held on 25th of October 2025, which is today, from 10 a.m. and expected to run up to 12 midday. The annual general meeting is being held at Boma Hotel, Red Cross Road opposite Popo Road, Mombasa Road. The agenda that this meeting will drive is to read, or rather what I'm doing currently. We've received prayers. We've received opening remarks from the founder. We will receive chairman's report thereafter. We will receive audited account from PKF, and they'll give their opinion. We will receive report of investment managers, that is African Alliance. We will also receive custody report, where the monies are and the assets are secured by a cooperative bank. We will receive administrator's report, that is Minet Kenya. We will have, or we hope to have, a representation from Retirement Benefit Authority. Thereafter, there's a declaration by trustees. Do they receive any remuneration? Then also members will have an opportunity to ask questions. And then thereafter, if there's any business, we will conduct it then. That marks the notice as it was issued. We can have it proposed and then we can carry on. Thank you.
So Mary, before you exit, can we get a proposer and a seconder that we conduct this meeting? Notice was duly issued 3 weeks back. Any proposer, just for the recording? By a show of hands. Okay, that is from Frontier. What was the name? Yvonne Wanjiro has proposed that we continue, seconded by Vidiambo.
Vigambo.
From which entity? Which? Uma University. Okay, so we are good? Okay. Now we can proceed, and as Mary has finally put it, nadhani nitajaribu kuchanganya lugha ndio tuweze kuelewana so that we move along. There are pens and papers on your desks. Kindly, any question that you have, today is the right forum to ask. All the individuals that you need to ask any questions, they are here. So kindly, as we continue, have all your questions, clarifications that you need, anything, because ni pesa za nani? Ni pesa zangu? Ni pesa za nani? Ni zako. Utazipata aje? Ziko wapi? Hayo mambo yote lazima uelewe yanaendaje. So as per the agenda that we have adopted, the next on stage is the chair of the Takaful Umbrella Fund. Ideally, it should be Mr. Mohammed Salat, but because he's running late, on his behalf, one of the Board of Trustees members, Mr. Abdullah, will sit in his presence and present on the same. Welcome, Mr. Abdullah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good morning. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Let me take this opportunity to welcome you all to this annual general meeting. My name is Abdullah Mohammed. I'm the HR manager, Fleet Logistics, and also sit in the Board of Trustees representing the employer. I'll be reading the speech on behalf of the chairman. Good morning, esteemed members and service providers. It's my pleasure to welcome you all to the 2025 annual general meeting of the Takaful Umbrella Fund. Today, we gather to reflect on our collective journey, evaluate our achievements, and renew our shared commitment to building a secure and dignified retirement future for our members. This gathering represents more than just a statutory requirement. It's a moment of connection, accountability, and forward vision. It allows the trustees to present the fund's performance, share insights on the market developments, and foster constructive dialogue between members and the service providers. In an ever-evolving economic landscape, the need for a resilient and ethically governed pension scheme has never been greater. The Takaful Umbrella Fund stands as a pillar of stability and trust, ensuring that members' contributions translate into long-term financial assurance and social dignity. So before proceeding, I wish to acknowledge the valuable contribution and presence of our partners and stakeholders. The Board of Trustees, Takaful Insurance of Africa, who happens to be the founder, African Alliance Kenya Investment Bank, the fund manager, Cooperative Bank of Kenya, who happens to be the custodian of the fund, Minet Kenya Financial Services, the administrator, represented by Mary, and the auditor, PKF Kenya LLP. Your continued professionalism and partnership remains the cornerstone of our success. The strength of the fund lies in its governance. The Board of Trustees, drawn from both the founding and participating sponsors, continues to exemplify integrity, dedication, and accountability in safeguarding the fund's mission. The current trustees, as had been mentioned, are 9. We have Mohammed Salat, who happens to be the chair. He's running late. Naima Sheikh Ahmed, Dr. Mohammed Abdi Mohammed, Ali Sahal Idris. I saw him walking shortly. You're welcome. Myself, Dr. Halima Saado, Mohammed Bakari Alidini, who is the Sharia Compliant Manager, Hassan Omar Sheikh, and Victor Mokua. The results, as will be shown by the providers, reflect prudent fund management guided by Sharia principles, RBA guidelines, and internal investment policy framework. Member statements have been issued as at 31st December 2024, and returns have duly been credited. With disciplined oversight and market resilience, we project sustained growth in 2025. The fund manager will provide more insight into the investment outlook shortly. Member empowerment remains a key priority. The trustees are committed to enhancing financial literacy through targeted training sessions, information bulletins, and digital engagement platforms. An informed member is an empowered member, one capable of making sound long-term retirement decisions. By deepening the understanding and awareness of the members, we strengthen both individual security and collective confidence in the fund. As I conclude, I wish to express heartfelt gratitude to our participating employers for your steadfast support and timely remittances. Our heartfelt gratitude goes to the service providers for their professionalism and commitment to excellence. My fellow trustees, we are grateful for your leadership, diligence, dedication, and your dedication to fiduciary responsibility. Together, we uphold the core values of accountability, transparency, and member-centered governance that define Takaful Umbrella Fund. Let us remain united in purpose as we continue to build a secure, ethical, and sustainable retirement future for all our members. Thank you, and may the peace of God be upon you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Abdullah, for stepping in for the chair. The Board of Trustees sits on a quarterly basis every 3 months, more often if need be, if there are any other issues. And they are constituted into some committees also, the Finance Investment, the Administration Committee, the Risk Audit Committee, which Mr. Ali Sahal kindly say hello to us. He sits in as the Audit Risk Committee chair. So that committee, that Board of Trustees is constituted into those departments for the well-running of the scheme. Now, the chairman's speech imekuwa na maneno mingi, imeongelelea, imezungumzia. I hope mko na maswali kwake when the right time comes. All those things around investments, the welfare of your fund, how do I get my monies, you know, all those issues that you have, nomination of beneficiaries, endelea kuziandika, wacha ziwepo, tutazichambua tukiendelea kwa hii siku. Sivyo? Sawa, there are more seats up front, msijifinyilie huko nyuma sana, you can come up front, and then we will be well structured and guided. Now, on to the presentations. The first presentation that we're going to receive is from PKF Kenya Financial Services. They are the auditors. They said they are the independent auditors. Wako na maswali mengi sana kwetu, but welcome. Okay.
Okay, good morning, members. My name is Rachel Nzioka, the fund's independent auditor. So I'll be taking you through my presentation. It's split into 3, the responsibilities of the trustees and our responsibilities as your auditors. I'll go through the 2024 audited financial statements, and thereafter I'll read our opinion. Okay, I'll start with the responsibility of the trustees. It is the duty of the trustees to prepare the fund's financial statements that give a true and fair view. It is also a duty of the trustees to ensure that the financial statements that they prepare comply with the prescribed financial accounting standards. This is IFRS accounting standards and are in compliance with RBA Act, which is the regulator. Financial statements prepared by the trustees will comprise of the following. Members, I'm sure you have the financial statements. It will have statement of net assets available for benefits. Otherwise, this is also known as statement of financial position, statement of changes in net assets available for benefits, statement of income and expenditure or the profit and loss statement, a statement of cash flows, and notes and accounting policies. It is also the duty of the trustees to set up internal controls and also maintain proper accounting records and preserve them for a minimum of 7 years. Next, I'll go to our duty as your independent auditors, it is our duty to report to the members on the financial statements prepared by the trustees, like I am doing today. Obtain reasonable assurance about whether the financial statements are free from material misstatements, which I will read the opinion. Auditor's report will include the following: financial reporting framework applied, whether the audit has been conducted in accordance with ISAs, whether the financial statements give a true and fair view, whether the financial statements are in accordance with RBA Act, whether adequate accounting records have been kept by the fund, whether the financial statements are in agreement with the books of account, whether there is any qualification in respect of unadjusted material misstatements. Now, members, we'll go to the numbers. As at the start of the year, the fund had 2,016 members, joiners during the year 775, leavers during the year 206, which brings a total of 2,585 members as at the year ended 2024. Out of the 2,585, active were 1,331, deferred were 1,254. Now we'll go to the statement of net assets available for benefits, otherwise known as the statement of income and expenditure or profit and loss. So dealing with members, during the year 2024, contributions during the year, 141 million as compared to 110 million in the previous year. Transfers in from other schemes, 149 as compared to 577,000 in the previous year. Withdrawals, for 48.7 million as compared to 35.5 million in the previous year. This brings the net additions from dealing with members to 92.4 million as compared to 75.9 million in the previous year. Return on plan investment. Remember, members, your scheme is a segregated scheme. So plan investment income from the different investments, 140.9 million as compared to 84.7 million in the previous year. Fund management and administrative expenses. These are expenses relating to service providers, 11.7 million as compared to 11.6 million in the previous year. Tax on the unregistered portion, 13.5 million as compared to 7.7 in the previous year. Management and this brings our net return on plan investments to 115.7 million as compared to 11.4 million in the previous year. So if you take the net additions from dealing with members, 92.4 million, you add the net return on plan investment, 115.7 million. So increase in net assets available for benefits during the year 2024, 208 million as compared to 141 million in the previous year. You started the year with net assets of 947 million. If you add to the 208 million during the year 2024, the scheme ended with net assets available for benefits of 1.1 B as compared to 947 million in the previous year. So I'll go to the statement of net assets available for benefits, otherwise known as the balance sheet. So the 1.1 million in during the year 2024 is split into assets and liabilities. Assets comprised of cash and cash equivalents of 3.6 million as compared to 14.7 million in the previous year. Receivables, this was contributions that are not been received as at year end, 16.3 million as compared to 11.3 million in the previous year. Plan investments is split into 1.1 B as compared to 927 million in the previous year. Liabilities, payables as at year end, 7.5 million as compared to 4.2 million, and tax payable as at the year ended 2024, 4.6 million as compared to 1.7 million in the previous year. So assets minus liabilities, this brings your net assets available for benefits, the 1.1 payables as at year end, 7.5 million as compared to 4.2 million, the investment and tax payable as at the year ended 2024, 4.6. Remember, you're a Sharia compliant fund, so most of your investment, that is 84%, is in bank deposits, 5% private equity fund, 11% unit trust, and a negligible 0% held in cash and bank. Remember, you are a Sharia compliant fund. In our opinion, the accompanying financial statements give a true and fair view of Takaful umbrellas deposits, funds, net assets available for benefits as at 31st December 2024, and its changes in net assets available for benefits for the year then ended in accordance with IFRS accounting standards and the Retirement Benefit Act. In our members, in short, accompanying financial statements we give a true and fair view of Takaful gave a clean opinion. Funds, thank you. Net assets available for benefits as at 31st December 2024, and its changes in net assets available for
Thank you,
benefits
PKF.
for the year then
You've
ended
received the
in
numbers
accordance
for the
with
financial year
IFRS accounting
2024.
standards
One of the
and the
biggest skills
Retirement
and
Benefit
best skills
Act.
that you can
So
have is
members, in
financial
short,
literacy.
it's to
So I
say
really
we
do
as your
expect a lot of
independent
questions on
auditor,
those numbers.
we gave a clean
You know,
opinion.
whenever I sit in the
Thank you.
board with Mr. Hassan Omar, who sits on the Finance Investment Committee, we're always asking ourselves, how can we better these returns?
Thank you, PKF.
Where do we invest for the
You've received
safety?
the numbers
Where
for
do
the
we invest
financial
for
year
the Sharia
2024.
return?
One
So
of the
all these
biggest skills
questions,
and best
today we've
skills that
come
you
also
can
to you.
have
If
is
you have any
financial literacy.
ideas,
So I
if you have
really do
any
expect a lot of questions on those
observations,
numbers.
kindly,
You
at the
know,
point when
whenever
we
I
do
sit in the
Q&A,
board
you will
with
be able to
Mr.
share them
Hassan
with us.
Omar, who sits
Thank
on
you,
the Finance
PKF.
Investment
We know
Committee,
we had a very
we're
rough
always asking
engagement with
ourselves,
them
how can
before
we
these
better
numbers
these
really came
returns?
out, because
Where do we
they
invest for the
really
safety?
pressed us hard
Where do we
on
invest
those
for the
numbers,
Sharia
asking for
return?
questions
So all
and
these
clarifications
questions,
to
today
that
we've
end.
come also to you. If
Now
you
to the
have any
next
ideas, if you
presenter.
have
The next
any
presenter happens to be the
observations,
investment
kindly,
manager,
at the point when we do Q&A, we
represented
will
by
be able to
Mr.
share
Maina
them with us.
Washieni,
Thank you,
the
PKF.
investment
We know we
manager.
had a
They
very
will
rough
explain to you
engagement with
where
them
they invested
before
this
these
money to
numbers really
generate
came out,
the
because
return for
they
2024.
really
And for
pressed us hard
2024, we
on those
had
numbers,
our
asking
best
for
year
questions
in terms of
and
the return. If
clarifications
you
to
look
that
at your
end.
statements, for those who've been
Now
in the
to the
fund for the
next
longest.
presenter.
Welcome, Mr.
The next
Maina.
presenter happens to be the investment manager, represented by Mr. Maina Washieni, the investment manager. They will explain to you where they invested this money to generate the return for 2024. And for 2024, we had our best year in terms of the return, if you look at your statements, for those who've been in the fund for the longest. Welcome, Mr. Maina.
So thank you, our members. Once again, it's a pleasure to be here with you today during this auspicious occasion. My name is Maina Washeni. I represent your fund manager in terms of the service provider team. Mine is to run you through a quick summary of the year that was in 2024. Give you a sense. So thank you, our members. Once again, it's a pleasure to be here with you today and during this auspicious occasion. My name is Maina Washeni. I represent going forward in 2025 in terms of the service provider team. So it's important that we clarify the role of the fund manager because some of the new members have also joined this meeting, and again, welcome. The fund manager, one of the key roles we have is an advisory capacity. Specifically, we work very closely with the trustees in terms of going forward in 2025. Seeking out investment opportunities, and trying to ensure that they are aligned with the risk profile of the fund. Right? So it's a very robust engagement that happens throughout the year, typically during the quarterly meetings that Victor mentioned, held every quarter, but we do also have ad hoc meetings in between to discuss opportunities as and when they arise. And trying to obviously, part of our role is to ensure that we comply with the investment policy statement. So during those advisory sessions, we are able to obviously work closely with the trustees that Victor mentioned. Once we've agreed on a way forward, investment execution is obviously a key point. We work very closely with the custodian, who will also make a presentation, obviously, in basically issuing out instructions and undertaking the investment. So during those typically this is done on a timely basis. So as you have noted from the earlier presentation, we try not to hold much in the way of actual cash because cash can actually drag the returns. So when we receive the contributions, ours is to ensure we turn around those into investments in a very timely fashion. And undertaking reporting is a key element of the fund manager's role. This is done on a timely basis. This is a key point in example. We try not to hold much in the way of actual cash because cash can actually drag the returns. So when we receive the contributions, ours is to ensure we turn around those into investments in a very timely fashion. Reporting is a key element of the fund manager's role. This is a point in example, we are required to report to you members during the annual general meeting. But even further than that, we engage with the trustees on a quarterly basis to give them an update on how the fund is progressing, certainly from a return basis. Finally, regulation and compliance is a key aspect of the fund managers. We do submit the returns to RBA as part of good corporate governance, and just to ensure that we are compliant with the regulatory measures. So now going into 2024, and just a quick brief on the economic review. Real GDP growth in 2024 came in at about 4.7%. This was lower than 2023, where growth was around 5.7%. And really that decline was driven by a slowdown across growth in most sectors. As an example, agriculture, forestry, and fishing, one of the larger sectors in the economy, had grown by about 4.6%, which was lower than the 6.6% it grew by in 2023. So when that sector, which represents one of the largest ones in the economy, contracts in growth, you can expect that overall growth is lower, which was the case in 2024. As an example, again, the construction sector contracted in the year 2024, again, just underpinning a difficult environment from an economic standpoint in 2024. That said, I'm happy to report that looking forward, the picture has improved, certainly into 2025. You're talking about the first quarter's real GDP growth being at about 4.9%. Second quarter's GDP growth actually came in at about 5%. So we are steadily moving upwards, and the target growth for 2025 is actually 5.2%. So all things considered, it looks like we are well on track to hit that for this year in terms of the economy. So there's been a positive turnaround, you could say, and we've actually seen the sectors that I just mentioned improve in terms of growth in 25, sorry. When you take a look at the inflation situation in 2024, average inflation for the year was about 4.4%. I think encouragingly, you'll note that the trend in terms of inflation was in a positive direction, meaning downwards. The golden line you can see there reflects how inflation moved through, headline inflation moved through the year. So we closed the year with inflation at around 3%, having opened the year with inflation north of 8%, right? So a couple of things contributed to this: a stable foreign exchange rate in terms of the Kenya shilling and the US dollar. This helped in terms of managing our cost of fuel. Remember, in Kenya, we import most of our fuel, given that we don't have oil production currently. And as a result, when you have the shilling remaining stable, that cost is managed, which means the pass-on cost to us, the end users, is also lower. The other thing that helped this outlook in inflation was basically a better situation as far as rains were concerned, which meant that food was generally also more available, and with that supply came lower prices, right? So food and fuel prices are typically a huge contributor. When those are high, you would expect the chart to be going upwards. Thankfully, in 2024, both moved in the right direction, and hence that 4.4% average inflation rate for the year. Just looking at the government securities situation, borrowing is a key aspect from the government in terms of perpetuating growth in the economy. I think in summary, what I'd say is the government pursued an agenda where they were looking to lower their cost of borrowing. So whenever they would come to the market to borrow, there was quite a bit of demand for the government securities, but they actually succeeded in lowering the cost of their borrowing through the year. It's something that has persisted or continues to persist into 2025. So in that respect, I think they were moving in the right direction in terms of managing their costs. Foreign exchange, I already alluded to this trend. As you can see on that chart, from about March 2024, that line is almost flat. So, there was quite a bit of stability in that particular scenario. The Kenya shilling was actually the best performing currency globally against the US dollar. It appreciated by about 17% in 2024. Strong remittances from diaspora were a key factor, as were bilateral inflows. In 2024, we were able to get quite a bit of funding from the IMF and the World Bank. And then something else that was a positive in 2024, foreign investors came back big in terms of investment in Kenya. So all that creates more flows of dollars into the country. Those dollars have to be converted into Kenya shillings, and that actually then makes the Kenya shilling ultimately appreciate, right? So I'm happy to report for 2025, the scenario remains as is. So if I extended that chart into 2025, you'd see, a continuation of more or less a stable trend. The shilling trading at around 129 to 130 to the dollar, right? So that stability should persist through to the end of this year. This chart basically just mentions the situation as far as the stock market, one of the key investment indicators in the economy was concerned. It was a very strong year. Remember, I mentioned foreign investors came back into the country in a big way. So that market closed the year up almost 32, call it 33% for 2024. And that was a big unwelcome change because previous year, 2023, that market had actually contracted by about 27%. So 2024, in many ways, for this stock market element, was a year of recovery. I'm also glad to report that in 2025, that positive investor sentiment has persisted, and we're actually on track in terms of this market to beat 2024's figures in terms of a return contribution. So now funneling into, I would say, a core aspect of the fund. This is just a snapshot. I think it's notable, and congratulations to the members and the board of trustees in terms of the fund growth. Sometimes as fund managers, as we deal with the trustees, you're stuck in the current scenario you're in. But I thought it was important to just give a sense of history as to how the fund has grown, right? So just following on the founder's speech, as well as the chairman's speech, which was delivered by Trustee Abdul Wahab, you can note that your fund has actually grown from strength to strength over the years, starting at a level of 505 million in 2019. If you take the growth period of the fund over the last, call it 5 or so years, you're talking about the fund having crossed the 1 billion shilling mark in August 2024, which I think is a laudable landmark. Very few funds are able to grow in this sort of way in such a short time. And I think it's also a testament to the fact that the investments we've been undertaking in conjunction with the trustees have been prudent. We've tried to avoid investments that are very volatile in terms of return. And as a result, you have that sort of strong growth path in terms of the fund value over the years. For the year 2024, your fund had a gross return of about 14.44%. Again, this was driven by diversification. We were able to work very closely with the partner banks and get return rates that were very attractive. But more importantly, we were also able to diversify the fund, an objective that continues into 2025, seeking returns that are stable but also strong, ultimately contributing to that return. Just for comparison's sake, 2023, the gross return on the fund was 10.18%. So, 2024 also represented a jump in the return profile of the fund. 2025, a couple of challenges on the horizon, lower return rates from banks, given the fact that the government through the central bank is pursuing a low lending cost agenda. That said, we are still working quite closely with the trustees to drive the return, and we expect that we should close 2025 strongly as well. As I come to a close, just quick mention on the outlook, some of which I've already alluded to in my earlier mentions. Real GDP growth has rebounded. As I mentioned, we are at about 5% for the second quarter. Target real GDP growth for the year is 5.2%. We look like we're going to most likely hit that target. Inflation continues to move in the right direction. We are talking about average inflation so far this year at around just about 4%. So we are ahead of where we were last year. Return rates are likely to ease, as I mentioned, but this is something that's affecting the entire country and all pension schemes. But again, we are working closely with the trustees in terms of diversification, particularly with a focus on hard currency opportunities as they arise. Exchange rates, that has remained stable, as I mentioned, which actually gives us that opportunity to consider hard currency investments, right? You want to consider that when you don't have to keep guessing where the shilling is going to be versus the dollar next week, right? We are in a very stable environment on that front right now. Lastly, just broadly speaking, equity markets, both locally and globally, have been very bullish. They've been on a run upwards. It's really fueled by positive investor sentiment in the local market stance, and the same thing seems to be applying globally as well. So members, just in closing, I think ours as African Alliance is to thank you for your indulgence, obviously for the few minutes I've spoken. Thank you, the trustees, for your faith in us as your fund managers. We look forward to continuing to work with you. And look forward to Q&A later. Thank you, members.
Thank you, Mr. Maina Washieni, African Alliance, the investment manager to the fund. Now, he has spoken about many things, but I hope you are taking your questions. You know, in my mind, a lot of things are going, not because I sit as a trustee, but because I'm also invested in this fund. For us as a fund, when we hit that 1 billion mark, it was a huge psychological barrier point for us. Could an Islamic fund do that in this market? Is it acceptable? And what I always tell my clients on the Meet the Tour forums, we are just now, remember again, the messaging that we've been taking out, we are trying to get a full suit Sharia suit. You know, yes, Gulf African Bank is there, DAB Bank is there, Premier Bank is there, but they don't have the custodial license. And we have been really pushing them to get that custodial license so that they can provide this service for us. But as it were, GOP Custody continues to do this. Welcome, Gaston.
Thank you, Victor. And I will also push my team to have a compliant Sharia department so that we can continue with this partnership. Indeed, I joined the bank in 2014, and I found this name here. I found Victor in the board of trustees, and it's been a good journey, and it's a name that we truly cherish in the side of the bank. As introduced, my name is Gaston Mukuno. I represent the Cooperative Bank of Kenya, who is momentarily and maybe into the foreseeable future your custodian. It's a role that we really treasure, and we hope that we can continue that partnership. My work is very simple, and as already we've had our auditor, we have had the fund manager. Mine is just to confirm that indeed the funds that you've had, they are indeed there. So how I do that is through this presentation, but first, before we get to the numbers, I can maybe highlight on the role of the custodian, so that even maybe there is some of you in the group that maybe have the capacity to start your own custody. So these are the provisions or the requirements that you need to provide to your customers. So as your custodian, we are mandated by law. Number one is to safeguard the assets of the scheme, and that is done through the various control mechanisms that the bank have in the day-to-day to ensure that the money that we receive from the various sponsors. That money only comes out subject to proper instructions, either from the Board of Trustees or from the administrator by extension and the fund manager. So there is usually a complete corporate governance structure that is there to ensure that whatever we do, there is a maker-checker process in place. Over and above that, we have other control mechanisms. One of them is a professional indemnity of 1 billion that ensures that even on our own side or on the side of the bank, our staff, even if they happen to, maybe sometimes they can happen to have bad ideas and they steal from the fund, we ensure that the fund is reinstated to the position that it was. And also we have a very good team that has both the operation side of things and then there's the client service, which is where I sit. I engage with the Board of Trustees on a quarterly basis, and then I'm required to engage with the members in an AGM such as this one on an annual basis, because we understand that the pension, it's a long-term business. We do not want you to be surprised when you're 60. That is the first time that you're having that touch points with your service providers, trying to tell you that you have either these millions, they've gotten this much return. So we try to make that engagement to be an ongoing process. And number two, and as had been alluded by the fund manager, is that we undertake what we call the investment settlements. And that is usually guided by what you call a service level agreement that we have with the fund manager, and also we have with the administrator. And the work of that document is to govern our day-to-day business operation. And very high level, it just states the timelines that if you want to be paid today, we require to have received the administrator's instruction the same day and the fund manager's instruction by before noon, and then we are able to process and pay into your specific member account your benefits. That is at the point of exit. The fund manager will also be undertaking various investments on a day-to-day basis. They will be placing money in DIB, the Gulf Bank, all these bank, or whichever investment they want to undertake. They will send us those instructions. We will do the due diligence, which include making callbacks, looking whether the balances in the account is there, and then executing that instruction and giving confirmation that indeed that instruction has settled. So that is also one of the key that we usually undertake on behalf of the scheme, is to ensure that the investment that have been negotiated by the fund manager, they are undertaken in a timely manner, so that then when we come before you in an AGM such as this one, we are proudly able to tell you that your investment has gotten a return based on those day-to-day activities. We also ensure that whatever returns that are due from the investments of the fund are realized in a timely and an accurate manner. Whenever there is a deposit that is maturing, let's say with Gulf Bank, our system usually, it's automated to show that this is the amount of profit that we expect from that investment. This is the date that we expect that investment, so that once that date comes, it's just a matter of just confirming that this is the money that we've received back. This is what the statement computation says we expected for that investment, and then we credit the account. In the event there's a variance, it's then our work to ensure that we engage with the counterparties and we iron out any of those variances. Either we tell them that the balance that you've sent us is lower than we expected or is higher, whichever case. What we require is just that exact amount as had been negotiated. Lastly, we do the payments into your benefits, into your member account upon exiting active employment with your current sponsors or employers. The chain of that instruction is that you as the member, you will undertake clearance with your HR, and then there will be the computation of your dues, which is usually undertaken by the administrator. And once administrator does that, they will then send an instruction to the custodian and the fund manager. Fund manager's role will be for them to avail the funds so that then you're paid. Once the fund manager has either sold, either they have liquidated a call deposit or whichever investment they want to liquidate, for the money to be available. Remember, Mina was saying that they try to ensure the account does not have a lot of liquidity in the side of cash, so that all that money is invested. So upon payment,
will either liquidate. Then at the last leg, which is the custodian, we will transfer the money now from the scheme's account to your own member benefit account or the account that you use with your banks, and then you can enjoy your pension in peace. So that is, in summary, the role that we undertake on behalf of the scheme. If I go then to the numbers, just to confirm that for this fund, as of 31st December 2024, we were holding on to 1,155,769,576. And that was invested in those three. Closure there was 182 million. So members, these are the funds that we are holding on your behalf as at the end of the year. And my work is to confirm that indeed this is what the core bank hold on your behalf, and you can take that word to the bank. So for me, mine is just to give you that assurance that and that we continue to do this role on your behalf. Asanteni sana, and Victor, back to you.
Thank you, Gaston. So the banker has confirmed that indeed these monies are there and the fund is well secured. You know, sometimes members normally ask, why all these service providers? Watu wote wako hapa wanakula pesa ya scheme ama nini? No. Actually, their fee is very minimal. And the reason why this came up is because in the 90s, Kenya had a very big problem with pension schemes. Pension schemes were going under. Misappropriation of funds and whatnot. So when the Retirement Benefits Authority came in 1997, they said, no, we need to have a structure, marker checker processes so that no one person, the investment manager, the banker, or the administrator, or the trustees just do their own thing. So this structure came in place to safeguard members' welfare. Now, members, as you sit here today, remember at some point you're going to retire. That retirement age used to be 60, but it is lowering. Now, more than ever before, people are exiting jobs in their 55 or even as early as 50. And remember, life expectancy is becoming better and better because with better healthcare systems, with better eating, nutrition, people are living for much longer. So if you retire at age 50, and if you're going to live up to age 90, how many years do you have? 40 good years to think about, to plan, to consider. So these monies, unajua watoto wenu watawachunga ama kila mtu ako kivyake. Watoto wa siku hizi, so dynamics have changed with westernizations and all these things. Life issues have changed. So lazima ujipange na pension schemes are gaining more and more prominence as we go into the future. That is why you need to be keen. That is why you need to think about saving more. That is why you need to think about your long-term issues, and those we will discuss. And I think the next presenter, who happens to be Minet Kenya Financial Services, who are the administrators to the fund, they will share about the member issues of the scheme, the legislation, the legal issues that the fund has, so that you understand and you start taking precaution and you start planning yourself. So it is part of the financial literacy that we must offer back to the membership for them to understand that there are decisions that you need to make as early as possible in life. For the young members who've just recently been employed in their 20s, start getting into a pension plan, start saving. You know, those monies will come in handy in the long term. Money for longer, invested for longer, will generate you a better return. So that is the outlook you need to have as we sit here today. Start having that mindset. Don't put off this decision that mbele itajipanga. No, you need to be conscious about it as you continue. So our next presenter happens to be Mr. Dennis Musau from Minet Kenya Financial Services. They will speak around the major issues of the fund, the legislation, how do you access your benefits? If you have a problem, the online portal, was the return declared? Is your HR or finance person remitting the contributions? All those things, normally they are at the center point, and we normally do these member education forums with them. They are the people closest to you. If you can get their contacts at some point, even the better for you. So Mr. Dennis will, and Mary, of course, Mary is a common face to all of you. They will explain all these issues to you. So to you, Dennis.
Before Dennis speaks, let me just introduce and acknowledge how grateful we've been. We grown with the fund from 505 million to the current 1.1 billion. Recently, a call came from a member, and the member wanted to find out how much or what is the process that needs to be taken for them to be paid. So the HR had called me, not from this group, and when he had told me what he wanted, he called the member. He forgot to put the phone on hold, and he told the member, kuja uongee na huyu mama wa pension. Two things crossed my mind. One, nimekuwa mama wa pension. I'm glad that we walked this journey for the number of years that we've walked. But now it's time that I introduced a team member. I think I communicated to the heads of each company that we've grown and we are growing the team. So we have with us Dennis, who you'll be seeing more. Mama Kaya Chini, Senior. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's appreciate her for the good work. So as mentioned, my name is Dennis Macau. I'll be joining Minet to support Takaful Umbrella Fund. So I'll be there for you. I'll also share my number at the end of the presentation so that if in case you have any administration related issues, you can reach out to me. So I'll start my presentation by introducing who Minet is. So the scope of the presentation would be, first I would introduce Minet, then I'll touch on the governance structure of the scheme. Then I'll talk about how you access your benefits. That is the benefit structure. Then I'll also talk about annuities and drawdown. These are retirement options for you. Then I'll also talk about taxation. This is very important, especially with the current regime. They are really interested in collecting more taxes. So I would want us to understand how taxes affect retirement. Then I'll finish my presentation on retirement planning so that you can appreciate what you should do as you plan for your retirement, the aspects of retirement and everything. So this is who we are as Minet. We are in 11 countries. This is the solution we offer. We offer risk advisory. We offer reinsurance. Then people includes medical products, pension business, and life products. So this is our customer service charter. This is just our promise to you as our customer. We endeavor to serve you with our heart, and our heart means that that is, we serve with humility, agility, expertise. So that is our charter to our customers and our promise to service you. So I'll now begin my presentation on Takaful. So Takaful is an umbrella scheme, and what it means, the founder established an umbrella scheme where multiple employers can join, where they enjoy the services of a pension scheme, but now there are several employers, and then under those employers, we have now employees and members. So Takaful Insurance are the founder. You as the employers, we call them sponsors. Then the members and their beneficiaries are also part of it. So the fund is registered by RBA and KRA and is guided by trustees in line with Sharia investment fundamentals. So each employer will join the scheme because the scheme has already been established under what we call a document called trust deed and rules, which defines the trust and the rules that govern the trust. So as an employer joining the scheme, you sign what we call a deed of adherence, basically saying that you are going to adhere to the set rules of the scheme. So benefits paid to members are paid in line with the Retirement Benefit Act. Then members can access their statements via our online portal, and also we share our statement yearly after the audit is done and the final income is declared for that year. Then we begin an exercise of issuing final statements to members. That is by 30th June of each year. So on the governance structure of the scheme, so I'll start by the key benefits of a retirement plan. So why do people set up a retirement scheme? So first is you enjoy tax benefits and what you call contributions. Any contribution to a registered scheme that is below 30,000 enjoys tax relief. So what does this mean? Let's say you're earning 100,000 and you're contributing 30,000 to a registered pension scheme. So the payroll person would first deduct the 30,000, then now subject the remaining 70 to payee. So it reduces the amount of taxes that you pay monthly as an employee. So that is the tax benefit. And now when you want to access this money and you have attained the retirement age, then now you get it also tax-free. So many of the tax benefits of contributing to a registered pension scheme. At the point of contribution, any contribution that is less than 30,000, you enjoy the tax benefit. At the point of access, as long as you have attained the retirement age, you also enjoy it tax-free. So it gives you a financial security when you retire. This is important to you. As mentioned by Victor, this misconception that my child is my retirement plan. So I'm educating this child. When they now become prime after school, they'll take care of me. But with the current generation, is that really possible? With this Gen Z, they want to enjoy their life. And now you become a bother to them. So as I talk about the retirement planning, I'll also mention about it. So it's a financial security. You are able to maintain the same standards of living, which you are enjoying when you are working at retirement. Then investment growth, as mentioned by our fund manager, these funds are invested. At the end of the year, you get an income. Then you maintain the same standards of living, and also it's a fallback plan in case of job loss. I'm going to also mention how. So what is your right as a member? This is very important to you. You are entitled to a participation right. You are entitled to participate in an annual general meeting, like the one we are doing today. That is your right as a member. Then you are entitled to access information. You are entitled to access information regarding the scheme. You are also entitled to immediate vesting. So what this means in simple terms, that once the contribution leaves the employer monthly, they are vested to the member. It means now they can't go back to the employer. They become your benefits and you are entitled to them. So once the employer has released those funds monthly to the scheme, those funds cannot be paid back to the employer. They are invested immediately to you as a member, or in case you are not there, they are vested to your nominated beneficiaries. The other thing is payment option. So you are entitled to your benefit upon meeting the eligibility criteria. That is, you have left employment and you are doing contributions, or once you retire, you are entitled to your benefit. And what the law stipulates is that you are supposed to be paid within 30 working days after submission of full documentation. That is what the law says. Then non-assignability of benefits. So this is one of the clauses of the Retirement Benefits Act, which says that benefit cannot be assigned to any other person apart from you as long as you are alive. So let's give, for example, you are working with an organization and maybe you have a student loan, you have left that organization, the employer cannot recover that loan from your pension benefits or any other loan. So pension benefits can only be paid to you. And in case you are not there, they can only be paid to your nominated beneficiary. Tumeelewana mpaka hapo. So this part of the Retirement Benefit Act comes in to protect the member because this is your right, you have earned it. So the employer cannot say, I want to recover this loan or anything from your pension benefit. So that is, in summary, your right as a member. So another thing we advocate for members is to nominate their beneficiaries. Because in case you are not there, you know, as an African, it's not good to think about death sometimes. So But now, when you tell people to nominate their beneficiary, sometimes they think that you are South African to do it. But it's good to plan for your succession because at one point you'll no longer be there. You have your own benefits, you have estate, you have properties. It's good to plan on how those properties will be shared amongst your next of kin. And just to mention that pension benefits is not part of your estate. So pension fund can only be paid to your nominated beneficiaries. It's very important. And as I look around, I see we have a young population. And as a young population, when you join the job market, you are usually not single. So you nominate your mother, or your brother, or your father as the next of kin. It's time you gain a family, and you fail to update the beneficiaries. So it's very important to nominate your beneficiaries. So these are the reasons why it's important. It's a requirement by law. Also, it's not part of your estate planning, as mentioned, and also to avoid unnecessary delays in paying out benefits. Because in case you have not updated your beneficiary, so now you're no longer there, and now the next of kin, you have nominated your mother, you discover that there were kids and a wife, so now the trustee needs to do their due diligence, which delays the benefit processing process. So then it assists trustees in decision making. So benefit payments when you're below 50 years, just to mention that now these govern percent of it. So that is now the benefit I was talking about, fallback plan in case of job loss. What amounts to access, we usually advocate for you um, to have your basket growing and not access until you attain retirement. In case you're in a financial distress and you have left your job and your employer and you need something to keep you going as you look for another job, then you can access 50% of the accumulated benefits. So in case of resignation, you can access 50%. Immigration, that you are leaving the country with no intentions of coming back. So what we'll need is for you to provide proof of permanent residence in another country. So you are paid 100% because you are leaving the country with no intentions of coming back to Kenya. Then, in case you have left employment and you wish to transfer to a personal pension plan, the transfer is done 100%. And in case of death, you are next of kin, 100%. And in case of ill health retirement, you are below 50 years, there's a letter from a doctor proving that you cannot continue working. So you retire on ill health ground, then we pay you 100%. Are we good up to that point? On the options available when you are below 50 years. So these are the options. When you are above 50 years, when you're below 50 years, as I mentioned, you can access 50%. And the remaining 50%, you retain it under the scheme, or you can transfer to your next employer in case they have a pension scheme, or you can retain it under the current employer until you attain retirement age of 50 years. When special exits, so that is death, health, ill health, and immigration, we pay 100%. When also upon retirement, you access your pension 100%, but also there's what we call an annuity and income drawdown. These are retirement option incomes. So what we are doing now is what we call retirement savings. We are saving towards our retirement. Now, when you retire, is what we call retirement income. You are earning from your savings. And those retirement income options, either an annuity or an income drawdown. Don't worry, I'm going to get you the details of annuity and income drawdown. So this just in details on the access options which I've explained. So on the annuities and income drawdown, how it works. So an annuity is a lifetime contract between you and an insurance company to pay you for the rest of your life. It's a guaranteed. So in terms, see, you have had people earning pension from the government. Naendea pension yangu, and they retire every month. So that pension is what we call annuity. So let's say you have retired, and in your retirement basket, you have 3 million. So instead of cashing out that 3 million, because you are used to this monthly type of budgeting, so you can commit that 3 million to an annuity where the insurance company will pay you monthly amounts for the rest of your life. So now here is the detail of the annuity. In case death occurs within a guarantee period, let's say you choose a guarantee period of 20 years, they will pay you for the rest of your life. Whether death comes within 20 years or after 20 years, you'll receive a monthly payment. But in case death happens within the guarantee period, balance is given to your beneficiaries. But in case death occurs past the guarantee period, nothing is given to your beneficiaries because you have exhausted, ideally you have exhausted your fund. So that is an annuity. You will be paid for the rest of your life. You choose a guarantee period. In case death occurs within the guarantee period, balance is given to your beneficiary. In case death occurs past the guarantee period, nothing is given to your beneficiaries. So that is an annuity in simple terms. So annuity is based on some factors. One is age. A person purchasing an annuity when they are 50 years, minimum entry age of an annuity is 50 years. So a person purchasing an annuity at 50 years will be paid less compared to someone purchasing an annuity at 70. Tumeelewana? So age is a factor. Not because we think that the person at 60 would die haraka, but that is just a calculation. The other aspect of annuity is, of course, gender. And I'll ask this question to us. Between a male and a female, who would be paid more? All the other factors being constant. You can just raise up your hand and say, a male. Another one? Hapo huko gender biased, you are gender biased. So a male will be paid more than a female, given all the other factors being constant, because men are at risk at retirement. Picture in your village, we all come from a village. How many grandmothers do you know? So many of them. How many grandfathers? Maybe one out of the whole village. And these are the reasons why men are at risk at retirement. Number one, men tend to engage in risky behaviors. True. They tend to. Number two, even in our social setup in the family, you'll find that the children are more close to the mother than the father. So what does that imply? If today I go back to home, I'll give my mother 20,000, let's say for example, and maybe greet my father, mzee habari, uko mzima, tutaonana, si ndio? And you don't know, maybe that man hana hata kitu kwa mfuko, to be honest, si ndio? And if you give your father 5,000 and give your mother 20,000, mama jioni atamwambia unajua hakuna sukari kwa hii nyumba. So still that 5,000 could be still be used for the house. True. The other thing, When in African culture and tradition, you'll find your mother might even travel to visit some of the children in Nairobi, in Mombasa. As a man, can you do that? And stay there for a month or plus. So that man is left at home alone. Now the social aspect of men at retirement. Men usually have 2 or 3 friends. When you retire, you maybe go back to your village or where you come from, and now you don't have that social aspect as a man. You used to have 3 friends when you are working in Nairobi. You also retire to their villages. Maybe you retire in Kilifi, you retire in Bugoma. Chances of you meeting with your friend at retirement also are limited. So also the social life aspect of a man at retirement tends to make them be, are, be risky, and they don't tend to live longer at retirement. So that is a basis of calculating an annuity. A man would receive more compared to a woman. The other thing is, of course, is a pricing rate. Annuity is a simple approximation of annuity. If you have 3 million, just take 1% of that 3 million, a simple calculation of an annuity. So a 3 million annuity will give you 1% every month for the rest of your life. But now the other factors comes in. But a simple approximation of underwriter would be 1% of the total lump sum every month. And now the other factors of age, gender come in. So annuity, you can also choose what we call a joint life annuity. So a joint life annuity, now it's a last survivor benefit. In case a single life annuity, in case death occurs, annuity ends there and balance is given to your beneficiary. Now for joint life annuity, in case you are not there as the principal member, the spouse will be paid also for their rest of their life. Tumeelewana? So joint life annuity is also an option. So you as a man maybe take an annuity and it's a joint life annuity. So in case you are not there, your spouse will also be paid for the rest of their life. But any choice you make for the annuity reduces the amount to be paid per month. So let's say you are 60, you have taken an annuity, and your spouse is 40. So that amount will be little, because in case you're not there, remember your spouse is 40, and they'll be paid for the rest of their life. So they will be paid even for 50 years. So the choice you make for annuity reduces affects the amount to be paid monthly. So an annuity, you can't terminate it once you have taken an annuity. It's a lifetime commitment. You be paid for the rest of your life. An annuity does not earn any income because you are given a guarantee of income every month by the insurance company. So now you, as an annuity, you safeguard what you call longevity risk, because you have passed that longevity risk to the insurance company. That high as Dennis, even if I live for 50 years, the insurance company will take care of me because it's a lifetime contract. Even if you're chosen 20 years as a guarantee period, whether you live for 50 or 60 or 10 years, the insurance company will pay you. So that is what you call an annuity. An income drawdown is also a retirement option where now you choose, it's an investment where you choose the fund. If the income declared every year is less than the rate at which you are drawing down your fund, then it means at one point you would exhaust your fund. So this is for risk-loving people, in case you love it, and also it's for people who have other source of income. If that 3 million is the only thing you have at retirement, then I would rather advise you to choose an annuity. But in case you have other investment options or income that can sustain you at retirement, then I would recommend the income drawdown, because there's aspect of income at retirement. So those are the features I've explained. Now we go to the taxation aspect of pension. So as mentioned, when I was starting, that every contribution to a scheme that is below 30,000 is tax exempt. So we call it registered contributions. Any contribution to a scheme that is less than 30,000, you are exempted from taxes when you are contributing. Any amount that is above 30,000 is taxed at the point of contribution by your employer in terms of pay. So in case you're below 50 years and you want to access your pension, 50% I was talking about, then what was not taxed will be taxed. And then what was exempted from tax will not be taxed. Tumeelewana? If you are below 50 years and you want to access your money when you retire, the contribution are categorized into two. If your pension contribution is less than 30,000 per month, that contribution is not taxed at contribution. So when you want to access it and you are below 50 years, it will be subjected to taxes. The contribution that is above 30,000 is taxed at the point of contribution. So when we want to access it and you're below 50 years, it will not be taxed. Tumeelewana mpaka hapo? So that is, but if you're above 50 years, whether it's registered or unregistered contribution, you'll get it tax-free. So the government wants to encourage us to access pension benefits when you have retired, when you're above 50 years. And as I'll show you the tax band that applies when you're below 50 years, it's a little bit punitive. So this is the tax band. Maybe for those who are at the back, I'll read it out. So when you are below 50 years and you want to access your pension, this is the tax band. So the first to 88,000, you are taxed 10%. Then the following next to 100,000, you are taxed 25%. Then any amount that is above 388,000, then it is at 30%. So it's basically the normal pay that you pay. So let's say a simple calculation of $1 million, and you are below 50 years, and you want to access that $1 million. It's almost 30% of it. So the aim is to access your money when you get to retirement so that you get to enjoy it tax-free. So there were tax amendments in 2024, which I thought it's important to mention to the members. Before these amendments, when you wanted to access your pension and you're above 50 years, you are taxed, but with a wide tax band. But with this regulation, that taxation was removed. Then another thing that was also removed is when you are below 50 years, before this act came into place, there was a tax benefit of 60,000 per year. So let's say you have $1 million saved for retirement and you're below 50 years and you want to access the 50%. So the government gives you tax relief of 60,000 for the years you have worked, but with a maximum of 10 years. But with the current regulation, there is no tax relief when you're below 50 years in terms of accessing. You'll just be taxed the first 288 for even that tax band. So that tax relief of 60,000 per year was also removed. They also introduced a tax benefit of people who want to access their benefits on ill health. So in case you are accessing your benefit on ill health and you're below 50 years, you get it tax-free. In case you have stayed in a scheme for 20 years, actively contributing, You also get your money tax-free, whether you are above 50 years or below, in case you have stayed in a scheme for 20 years and contributing. They also introduced a benefit on what you call post-retirement medical fund. The government is encouraging people to set up a fund towards their medical bills at retirement. Because at retirement, one of the pain points for retirees is medical bills. So the government set up a regulation and a fund called Post-Retirement Medical Fund, where people save towards their medical bills at retirement, and they get a tax relief of 15,000 per month. So mention most of it. Just to mention, the 30,000 per month, which is a tax deductible, the one you enjoy, previously it was 20,000. So the government increased it to 30,000. So on the financial planning, that is retirement planning, as I finalize my presentation, retirement planning is a three-legged stool. One of the leg is financial planning, which I'm going to do today. The other one is what you call social aspect. The other one is community aspect. So as you plan to retire, here's the financial aspect, which we are doing now as a member of a scheme. But there are other two very important aspects, which you call the social aspect and community aspect. The one that I was talking about, when you retire, what do you do at retirement as a person? That is community. Maybe you volunteer in your society, in your community. The social aspect is how do you relate with people at retirement? So that is all the aspects of retirement. So on the financial planning, this just a quote, a phrase. I'm dreading it. I can't afford it. How will I cope with my partner 24 hours a day? Maybe on this, I'll tell you a story. I was training a lady who was retiring, and then she gave me a story of the husband, which will just now summarize my financial planning on retirement. Then the lady was saying the husband had retired a year earlier. Then during the working life of this husband, he used to be very busy with life. Meetings after meetings, very busy, checking on the wife maybe once per day. And when now the guy retired, he kept on calling his wife every day. Uko wapi? Umetoka kazi? Utafika saa ngapi? And the lady was not used to this life when he was working. Now the gent has realized the only friend he has in his life is his wife. But during his working life, he never made the wife his friend. Now, there's a risk of divorce at retirement because you are now coming to a new routine when you retire. So, as you plan for retirements, start making your social life and community life in order. If it's your family, make sure that you're in touch with them, the kids, and everyone. So, that is just summary. And also, medical bills at retirement is also a factor. And remember, you are retiring from work. You are not retiring from paying your bills. So if you have a child that is still in school, you need to pay their school fees. You're still their dad at retirement if they are still in school. If you live in a rental house, the landlord doesn't care if you are retiree. You need to pay that rent every month. So you're not going to retire from paying your bills. You're basically retiring from work and this routine. So that is on retirement planning. So retirement is 100% of your responsibility. It's up to you to make your retirement a well-planned experience by planning in advance. Then as you plan for retirement, so consider these aspects: investment, healthcare, estate, legacy. Then I'm going to my parting shot. Retirement is not just about saving money, but also about saving friendship, memories, and leaving a legacy of a well-lived life. It is sowing seeds and allowing others to reap, but the joy of it all, it's a fullness of very. Thank you so much. That was my presentation from Minet Financial Services as the administrator. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dennis, and welcome on board. I love the energy. Mary is still there. Mary needs to school you on a few things, and then we will be moving on. Okay. I think I'm much happier. The room is full. I can see extended up to the end and all of that. Let me invite a colleague of mine. Do we need
And then my younger so what all of people we did for like how they were page or on that about so of course my following would be very about paper ball and then so we break then we find the so yeah we did a lot of what differently so you so my we are interpretation or believe that after hours and that that no need a one role the part I will have for the voluntary then the and how will have a one inside the then also what the quantum and remember that um, and we have the this one is using the very often and also the going of direct investments. This for whether of us and the are meaning for the next next I want different things about your record about the work and the trouble and the new of the door. My name is Ahmed Hussein, former project networks as well as actually my area is for the civil area. And yet I invited the director and have some savings stored in us. First of all, there the impact relations that integrate to the minute of the fund. And to be done, I think because despite the fact we have for a couple of years, the numbers we saw the more, having more the contributions from 131 and growth of 18% despite COVID. So can we talk of those of total the growth moved from 35 to 48 billion, which is give or take 7%. Maybe that will inform by the fact that in economies, some countries that people have to switch jobs and what have you. The other thing that caught my eye is the line in the tax. The tax number, as much as they moved up by 75% from 7.7 to 5.5 each day. So when you just put the net was started, if they are offers to work those numbers legally, please let me know where they go. Just call me.
Most employees normally who are related to the one already, and they are also deducted the share. So is there a way that the scheme can come together and say part of that should be allocated in terms of retirement? On retirement, you end up using the retirement benefits for medical purposes, and yet maybe you might be lacking food in your house. So I think it's something maybe you can discuss with the RBA and the government to see whether some of the share contributions can be allocated to cater for medical to avoid members to
Yeah, so that's just another question.
Thank you, Alima, for the question. I think that's done.
Thank you, members. I'll tackle the administrator's question. That was number one. And the last question that has been asked on annuities and the split. The first question was, the law has allowed up to 30,000 tax allowable benefit when you are contributing to a pension fund. When you voluntarily contribute to reach, for example, if your company contributes 6%, so your 6% is, let's say, 15,000 shillings, and you'd want to take advantage of the entire 30,000 shillings, you voluntarily decide, tell the payroll, please deduct 15,000 more so that I can utilize the entire 30,000. That was the scenario that was forming this question. At the point of retirement, that voluntary contribution, will it be taxed? Is that the question you intended? Yes, upon withdrawing or retirement, when you want to access that money at any point, will that voluntary contribution be taxed? To take care of that administratively, there are priorities, because remember this 30,000 is a benefit from both employer contribution and employee contribution to pamoja. So when we are allocating, we give priority on this tax benefit to your voluntary. Okay, so in this case, going by that example, I said 15,000 is what your 6 or 5% can accommodate. But you decided, let me add 15,000. So when I'm allocating, I'll allocate first on tax priority, your voluntary contribution, okay? So that at the point you're contributing, you've already enjoyed the tax relief. Okay, so there are various scenarios that you exit, like Dennis said. So after or when you are withdrawing, remember you are not tax exempt if you are below 50 years. Okay, before the law was increased, that came with a twist. The tax relief initially that was extended to someone living or accessing lump sum benefit was removed. Okay, so ideally, the entire benefit that you are taking home should be taxed. Okay, so if you've contributed for 20 years and above, your voluntary contribution will not be taxed. Okay, but if you are living when you are below 50 and below 20 years in employment, that benefit will be subjected to the tax band that were projected by Dennis. Are we clear? So at the point you're contributing, you're not taxed, but at the point you're exiting, you're subject to tax depending on how many years you've been in the scheme. Is that okay? Is that clear? Okay. So the last one, or the last question that was asked so that I can give the others opportunity to answer, there was the issue of annuity and the presentation that was done on annuity. The annuity format, like clarified by Victor, Trustee Victor, is that Takaful or Sharia space does not have annuities as a product, okay? But for those who would want to go outside that space, annuity is available. The question is, can you split between the amount you have and what is the rationale behind your split? The format of pension schemes is that there are pension schemes that pay the whole amount in lump sum, which Takaful does that, and there are schemes that pay as a pension, or they give each month as a pension. What is allowable is a VAD, okay? What you'd take home would be a VAD, and the rest you'd tell the scheme, please have the rest of the money to procure my annuity, okay? So the rationale for splits, it's up to a third of the savings that you have will go to your bank account, and the rest will be used to procure an annuity. But again, as a disclaimer, and following a question that was asked by the member, is to clarify that Takaful does not offer, or the Sharia fund that we have does not offer annuities because it's not Sharia compliant. I've answered that bit, yeah. Then finally, PRMF, you're working and you're contributing to SHA. SHA is a statutory medical fund, okay? So when you, for example, pay the amount you pay for SHA, it's to cover you for that year. That's an understanding we have all of us, okay? And an insurance medical cover, when you don't utilize that year, is it carried forward to the next year? Okay, imeishia hapo. Because in principles of insurance, there are people who will use that money and there are those who will not use that money, and that's why it's affordable for us to be able to contribute to an insured pool, okay? A PRMF, the rationale, I don't know whether there were people who were here last year when we were discussing about PRMF. By show of hand, who came last year for the AGM, who were there for the AGM last year? We discussed, and again, that's why we didn't want to repeat it, but I think we should be repeating it until it's there, yeah? PRMF was started to clear a gap or to come in to cover a gap. When you're employed today, you don't have to worry about how will I go to hospital because the cover is there, okay? When you leave employment, what does the employer take first? Your medical card, and he writes to the hospitals and tells them, with effect from 1st of this date and this date, please delete Mr. or Mrs. XXX. So it means you do not have a cover that you enjoyed on 31st of December. Come January, you are on your own. So there was a clear gap in that members were enjoying or enjoy a cover, but when they go to retirement, they are fully exposed. Sindio? So PRMF tells you, your health is in your hand, uwajibike, sindio? So that if you want to enjoy the same cover, save a kitty, eka akiba, so that at the point you are going on retirement, you are able, for example, to pay that SHA, sindio? Because ukiwa retirement, hii pesa ndogo umepata ya retirement, ndio utagawa kulipa rent, hakuna mshahara inakuja, ndio utagawa kulipa matumizi, na ndio pia utagawa kulipa hospitali. Sasawa. So what this PRMF is providing is for you to be able to put a kitty for you to use it in retirement. So can SHA, now to answer your question, do you think SHA would be able to cater for PRMF? From the explanation. Kwa sababu ukipita hii mwaka, pesa ya SHA imefanya nini? Imeenda, sindio? So unaanza tena mwaka mpya, okay? So I think those were the administration questions that we had. I'll hand over to trustees to answer the rest of compliance.
Okay. Trustee Alidin, you can speak on the Sharia Supervisory Council and the report that they gave us. Use.
Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon. As a matter of a procedure, how it is done, I think last year, even I mentioned that our fund has two regulations, two level of observation or governance. The first one, it is the RBA, and the second is the Sharia board members who not only advise on Takaful aspect operation, also they have the responsibility to govern on our pension scheme. So when I do audit and also participate in the scheme as a trustee, as well as also sit for investment committee, whatever we are doing there, it is as per the guideline given by the Sharia board. So we communicate how the fund should be invested, as well as the return, how should be distributed. So all this information, at the end of the year, we put our statement, and we shared the statement. It is already there in the financial that the fund has been reviewed by the Sharia board, and they found that there's no any violations in terms of Sharia principles. Maybe one thing, now this structure, how the financials should be reported. Should we have additional information which is based on Sharia? For example, if it is any contract applied, mudaraba, musharak, and all this should be clearly mentioned. Maybe now this one, we can agree if we can have now two reports. The first report is detailed report which have Sharia parameters as per the AOFI, which is called Accounting Auditing Organization for Islamic Financial Institutions. So they guide how to report even on the pension. So we may have now two separate documents. One, have a comprehensive, then now the small part, which is now in line, or which now it is, let's say, shared with the beneficiary or the members. So it is possible, and I have developed a guideline for that. It is just now to sit down with the rest of trustee and to see how we can implement that one, because I see it is so critical to ensure that we fully comply with the Sharia principle. So it is possible, and inshallah going forward, we're going to implement that one so that we have a report that have complied both the AOFI as well as the regulation of Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Alidi. So matters investment must always originate at his desk before they come to the investment committee. I'll invite Mr. Maina Washeni to speak on the quality of investments that we have that have been done.
All right, thank you for that question. So I think in terms of the investment approach, we typically seek investments that are not volatile in terms of their return structure, right? So anything that is typically, I would say, speculative in nature, we will generally tend to shy away from in terms of considering this as a potential investment for the funds, right? I mean, that is in line with the risk profile of the fund, and even as an added layer of security, we will typically engage with the Finance and Investment Committee to discuss the opportunities that come our way before we clear them for investment. When it comes to the deposits that we place, we do carry out some reviews on the financial strength of the banks that we deal with. We actually engage with these banks on a weekly basis in terms of just understanding what kind of rates are offered to ensure that we are at the top tier of the rate profile that is offered. I'm happy to report that from an operational perspective, once we agree on a rate, we've had very few incidences, and I think Gaston alluded to this in his presentation, where the returns we are expecting do not tally to what we are expecting at the agreed point of investment. And that just speaks to, I think, high quality in terms of the underlying operational structure of those institutions. When it comes to the mutual funds, we invested in SIB Naja in an attempt to diversify the funds away from deposits. Again, this investment had the benefit of some robust discussions within the Finance and Investment Committee, the providers of the investment, Standard Investment Bank as well, just to understand exactly how they plan to obviously generate the return that they promised us at the start. We do get the statements from them on a quarterly basis. We do engage them as well directly, just to understand their thoughts on how the investment environment looks from their perspective. Investment is a continuous learning process, right? So, in terms of engaging, we are also able to appreciate the kind of trials that they would go through. Maybe as I close, going forward, we are looking at other opportunities. I did allude to this in my presentation, where we are looking to see if we can diversify the sources of return into, US dollar kind of Sharia compliant products. Again, with the benefit of the Finance and Investment Committee, we've been engaging on these opportunities on an ongoing basis, right? So we will do our analysis on the opportunity, we'll engage the provider on the opportunity. This particular opportunity I'm thinking of, that provider has actually been sharing their returns on a consistent basis. It's us taking the time to be clear that what they said is actually what happens, right? The consistency of the return is there. And then following that comfort, the Finance and Investment Committee can actually take the next step of recommending it for investment and approval by the board. So ladies and gentlemen, just to give you comfort that, prudence, I think patience and thoroughness is underpins everything we do in terms of looking at your investments. And then gives those investments the, I would say, high quality. Thank you.
These AGMs, kindly take that communication back. He spoke about the exit numbers. Yes, definitely that went up. Again, it speaks to the take home that various individuals have. A lot more people are saving in the scheme. So as they exit, they are going out with a bigger exit package. The returns continue to be robust. This year is a bit tough. 2025 is a bit tough, and maybe let me not call it a profit warning. It may not match last year, 2024, but it will still be within the same range as the prior year. Looking at taxation, there isn't much one can do. The more you continue making, the more government wants. So yes, within what is allowable, as you spoke to it, we try to be conscious around that, communicating to our members. There is an issue around taxation that came up within the retirement benefit sector. Once that judgment comes out with clarity, one of the pension schemes went to court. They got a tax rebate in terms of that. So once that tax judgment comes out and it is applicable to all pension schemes, very quickly we will move to with the auditors and the accountants to enforce that within our schemes, and definitely better off to all of us. Now, to the group from Mombasa, and I need to say this with a heavy heart. I had promised them we would take the AGM this year to Mombasa, and the Board of Trustees is very conversant about that. We really wanted to come back to Mombasa. As it were, in terms of our planning and everything, things shifted a little bit, and because of regulatory purposes and to be in compliance, we had to do it in Nairobi. There's still 2 more months to go. I believe we can be able to work out something for Mombasa because the board is here. So that communication has come to us heavy that yes, indeed, Mombasa is a spot, is a playground that we need to go, not only for the AGM, having a member education session on that end, but also in terms of the service providers coming to that end. So Mr. Rashid, Amira, the team from Mombasa, Interpel, Logistic, Mewa, all the teams from that end hold us to that promise that indeed we need to come, and the Board of Trustees also hold me to account in terms of that. I think that, back to you, Said.
Thank you, thank you. Basically, me, what I'll say is that, Bona Victor, the issue that people are crying out for is member education. You need to have a schedule, January to December, God willing, so that each and every person can benefit. There is a lot of information that you give to us by virtue of you working with us in Takaful, but members need to know. So member education is key. Without said, we'll call Sheikh Khalid Gidini to give the vote of thanks, inshallah, and then we will head for lunch, inshallah. Najua njaa imeingia. For those gentlemen that will want, our Muslim brothers that will want to pray, on where the mosque is. And lastly, the gents are on the other side, this side. But if you are heading towards the, we call it the buffet area, ni huku chini. We will guide you. I'm here. Nimekuja hii time ku make sure nimewa guide. Tumekula pesa yetu bana kidogo. So, vote of thanks kindly.
Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon. I have been ambushed, so my job is just to give a vote of thanks. First of all, without taking it for granted, the people who made their time to come on a weekend for this session. An AGM without the members is not an AGM. So thank you all members for making the time to come out of your busy schedules of family and other commitments. We appreciate. Want to appreciate the service providers for making time today and just for their service continuously throughout the year. We thank you and we appreciate your work. We don't take it for granted. Trustees, it's a heavy responsibility, as the word suggests. Board of trustees, there's an element of trust, and trust is a big aspect of Amana. In the pension sector, you know you are responsible for people's retirement and retirement money. And I think Victor explained what happened over a couple of years and why there are all these layers of regulation and checks and balances. So for us as trustees, we are one of you, we are members, we have our money, our few shillings or more are in the fund just like yourselves. So we are one among you who are responsible for your funds, and we don't take that for granted, we take it seriously, because what we have to balance is capital preservation, just making sure that the shillings you've invested remain safe. Number two, that they grow and that we seek a return, and that has been explained, and the different options. And the third, issue for this particular fund is the Sharia aspect. So we always have to balance those three aspects to keep your money safe, to make sure it grows, to survive inflation and all of these things, and to make sure that you're earning a halal or return for the members who have opted for this unique scheme. So that's a heavy responsibility, and we try and tread a careful line, and we hope we live to that expectation. And with that, I want to thank everyone for this event. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Again, I know Takaful umbrella fund is different, but Takaful insurance, our motto is above and beyond insurance. I believe the members that are here, when Victor is organizing for the member training, we'll be visiting you and at least giving you some of our products so that you can come to us directly and give you scheme affordable insurance products that will benefit you going forward, inshallah. سبحانك اللهم وبحمده نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. Tunaweza enda lunch. If there is anyone that has a question, anaweza baki nyuma, we have the team here, wanaweza jibu. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Excuse kidogo, naambiwa kuna pale table unapitia meal card. Umenifundisha secondary. Kuna meal card zinachukuliwa pale, kindly mnaweza pitia hapo kwa mlango, and then the mosque area mtatugojea tu hapo, tutaonesha paliko inshallah.